like math
Yeah, I'm glad
class
I didn't
because
really have
math
that
was like my
dynamic. I
worst
just kind
subject in school.
of dropped out and then did my own thing. Did distance learning. It was way better.
And I was one of those like artsy, botsy, smoking pot, doing all kinds of crazy shit people in high school. So
One
shit, I
question,
probably
two
missed
people.
school high.
I'm curious if, Chris, if you even know, I mean, I'm sure you probably know the name just because it absorbs in there, but do you know Fake Sagan or anything? And Gary, I thought you were a little soft on his return, and still, I mean, even I'm past saying, but he could turn a phrase and this kind of bullshit. He's a royal. I mean, I like emo people, and he's kind of like makes it look like a bad thing.
Well, look, you had a personal thing with Fake Sagan before Fake Sagan burned out. You were really trying to pick fights with Fake Sagan, and you know that my relationship with Fake Sagan sort of, floats around ocean a bit. So yeah, I'm going to cut him breaks just because of that issue alone, and that whole Captain Awesome thing was just so bad, so that gets him cut another break. And but yeah, look, I mean, I'm just being honest too. I mean, Fake Sagan has a way about him that's just not. He's not just some asshole on the internet. You know what I mean? He is an asshole. And he's a colossal asshole. But he's not an idiot. Well, that isn't even the right way to put it. He is an idiot. I don't know what to say. But I don't think I was all that. I guess all the points I wanted to say was I don't think I've been that nice to him. I think I was pretty harsh. That yeah, well, you come back to do what? To sell your TV show?
To promote a reality TV show, but oh my God, once again, sorry to interrupt, Cindy.
Well, actually, since you asked Pyro, I know Fake Sagan from you because I was subscribed to you and you made like 4 videos about him blocking you or something like that. You were just bitching and complaining about that, and you made some videos about Gary blocking you too. And I was like, I mean, at the time I didn't really know you. I watched like a few videos of yours, and I was like, what's up with this guy? What's so bad about blocking? And then when people started to block me, I kind of had the same reaction. I was like, what the fuck, man? Why did these people block me? I don't do anything wrong. I don't go around on people's videos and, leave nasty comments. I rarely comment, and when I do, it's something to do with me or to leave a positive comment. Why do you block me? And then I was remembering you, with your bitching about Fake Sagan blocking you.
Yeah, it's just a metaphor for his attitude, and even if Gary, I don't really approve of it, but see, Gary is actually, a lot of people are cutting you off in a way that is totally fucked up. And Gary, I think it's crazy the way you do it, but because you still reply to people, but the fact that you do still reply to people is like, okay, you haven't actually said they don't get another say, another step in the conversation. You've said something else more complicated. But yeah, I don't know. I don't look at it as blocking now, so yeah, so But well, I just wish everybody would just 1,000 cuts that guy with. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be careful with any like pony like he does. He'll go through and watch somebody's video, like that pony video of Gary. See, part of the undercurrent is he's really familiar with Gary. He knows all the how to fix things. I know plenty of Manham fans don't know about this list and the prominence. He's got all of it in his head, and he'll search through hours of videos to find out and talk to all his friends, and they'll, do you remember a clip? I mean, I'm not going to be that careful, but it would be great if a bunch of people that were just like, just tell them what they think, because I think the problem is that he has the potential, and he's even well-read, and he's a good working-class philosopher if you sit back to the beginning, and yet it's just gotten crazy. I mean, he's a gun-toting, it's just nuts. He's so bad. He's worse because he can turn a phrase and he knows better. And then Straight Dope even is showing these clips where he's like, I'm being an asshole. It doesn't really help to do it. He knows everything about what he's doing. He does it anyway. That's despicable. having knowledge of doing that despicable thing makes it truly despicable.
Yeah, well, I just don't get the whole thing. I mean, why would fake Sagan make come back and pick straight dope as the target? But straight dope is really just making the argument that, look, you're a drunk, you're an Arkansas gun nut drunk. I mean, what the fuck? There's no argument there. I mean, fake Sagan's not going to be able to argue with the truth. And the truth is, he's behaved like an asshole since he left YouTube. So, I mean, how's he going to argue with that? Yeah, I mean, the whole nigga talk, too. I mean, if you've seen any of fake Sagan's blog TVs, it's disgusting. It just does all that nigga crap. And you're like, what the fuck is that shit?
One thing that puts me off about fake Sagan, I kind of like watching the dude. I am subscribed to him even now, and I was watching, like, whenever he put out a video. I usually watch all my subscriptions, but at least at that time. But there was this time on Blog TV when Ocean Avani was carrying his gun in her pocket, and at some point he said that that gun was loaded, and she didn't know she was carrying a loaded gun, but she didn't react, oh, it's loaded, oh, haha. I mean, if somebody did that to me, give me to carry a gun, and then after that informed me that it was loaded, I would be pissed. I would be freaking out. I mean, if you're gonna carry a loaded gun, you should know it's loaded, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I know, but we know Ocean already had her own familiarity with guns, so, she didn't give a shit, and she's a little bit of a whack anyway, so, she figures.
Exactly, Gary. You want to talk about human biases that you don't subtract. What and how could you keep giving credit to her at the very best? Kind of like fake Sagan himself, she might have proved she has some potential or art or whatever, and she has decided to be with this total nutcase. She thinks that's masculinity. She's buying that every day, 24/7. And that's her decision, but I mean, you're plenty judging people, and by what means other than, your innate memory of this potential type. I mean, the practical reality is she's pretty much proved a degeneracy.
Oh, well, look, I don't think I'm doing that, though. I'm just being respectful to the relationship I had with who I knew, okay? And so, yeah, I mean, all of what I knew doesn't include all that shit, but yeah, I'm not going to build any monuments to Ocean Avani. I mean, yeah, she's a loopy as fucking hell.
I wanted to respond because I like Ocean Avani too, and I watched her videos, her nutty videos where she was talking about holding a gun to her husband, almost killing him, and the only reason she didn't kill him was because he moved in his sleep or something. I mean, she had these crazy videos appearing like this, like, crazy person, but at the same time, I don't know, I just liked this way about her. She was very artistic, she did those creepy cartoons, and she was doing voice over them, and I really I just found her an interesting person. Even if she had, like, some flaws or whatever, she's still interesting,
Yeah, I mean, there's people who are crazy can often be really interesting. She's definitely
great artists usually turn out to be nuts when you find out their biography. I mean, 99% of the time. Even the ones that are crazy nuts, they just figure out a way to balance it.
And it's just that kind of pain thing. I mean, she went through a lot of crap. I mean, she has this disease where she has to have her hips replaced every 15 years. There's a little crap in her life, and, she survived. And so that's part of it. There's a character to all of that. But, I mean, yeah, some of it is just plain, she is, look, there's a lot of people that, you're a subjectivist, so you should know. That I just find disgusting, but she talks about, like, driving way too fast down dark roads without the headlights on, and you're just like, oh yeah, that's fine if you just crash into a tree, well, good luck, fine. Or you just fly off a cliff, well, fine. But what if you crash into a family of 4, going to grandma's house? Are you going to take accountability for that? I mean, she's this reckless attitude that was the biggest downside for me, is there's this grotesque recklessness.
not about her, but it reminds me of something that's really been common of suicide, of people. I remember when I was a teenager and you're mixed with all kinds of different people and they say things and you're like, well, huh? But more than one, the suicide thought, not that with no people that actually did any kind of suicide, but their suicidal thoughts were sometimes driving into the oncoming lane. That was their suicidal thought. It's like the Columbine version of a suicidal thought where it's all about taking someone out with you. It's crazy, obviously, but I mean, it's weird that it's common.
Type of crazy. But I'm sorry she's gone. I don't know if you watched her bureau or at least her cartoons, but they were so unique. I don't know, she was pretty original. She had creepy cartoons, and she would do a voiceover talking in that southern accent of hers, like really calming about how she dismembered somebody or watched his blood drain away or watched some creatures devouring him, and she would talk like in a very calm voice with that accent over some really scary, creepy images. It was like you couldn't stop watching.
Yeah, she had that one too where like she massacres the Barbie bitch or something. There's some Barbie bitch and it's like she kills her on the staircase and shit, and you're like, what the fuck is this shit? But I mean, some of her poetry was just really, it was cool stuff. I mean, Black Crow kind of Raven-y, Poeskian, dungeon-y stuff.
And that video where she was saying that she's feeling like a monster, actually that was the title, I Am a Monster, and she would make herself with some kind of makeup that she did her own that would look like almost Hollywood real, the skin she put on her face to make herself look like a monster. I don't know. She was something.
Yeah, so anyway, the point is though, is that both these characters are not just, they're not common. They do have some merit as personalities.
I don't know if it's something to do with me, but for me at least, if somebody makes me laugh or gets me interested with their art or something like that, I can ignore the parts that I don't like about them. I mean, for instance, the difference between Nuclear Knight and Anti-Glenn, for instance, since they both have basically the exact same ideology at one point, but with Anti-Glenn, with Ashley, she really made me laugh. I mean, she had some really funny sketches, she would do some advertising type thing, and I don't know, I cannot dislike somebody who makes me laugh that way. I don't know why.
Well, and she was less aggressive too. She wasn't being obnoxious. She was almost polite in being, you know what I'm saying? I mean, she was really careful in how she worded things. So in a way, you could have so much more respect for her because she did qualify her statements in such a more considerate way, I think. That's my impression.
I think that this is something that I feel when I ever talk about philosophical activism that's really important, because most artists, I have an artist worship kind of thing that I dealt with to not be so worshipful, because in my, with no religion through my whole life, I think I reached out to certain artists along the way that in the end I hopefully could still appreciate, but I realized, okay, well, it's not like it's some amazing answer. And you have that urge to not, you learn about all of these people, crazy things, because things are known and then you don't really know. But the thing is, you have to figure out, it's very important, it's very beneficial and possible to separate the fact that the person is still crazy. There's some people that make dark art that don't get attracted to somebody that actually is dark and dangerous, and they're really craving that. They express that cathartically in their art, and they manage to have, like Stephen King. He's put it all in the art, and he's just a little geek. He's the sweetest little guy. So, you can separate it, and I think it's important to figure out a way to realize sometimes, wow, that person really was a jerk. I mean, it's even like Martin Luther King supposedly really did cheat on his wife. And if that's true, it's not so what, it actually does affect, you know, a pastor and all of this stuff. And yet it doesn't change that he did a great social movement. He was right on in the social movement. It's not affected at all. Things can be separated, ideas from people, and it's a part of that. And it's hard to do, but it's like we are evolving in the direction where we can figure that stuff out. So it's like, no, I think you could appreciate the art ideally and realize the person is actually even irredeemable. You know, you can like the Sex Pistols and Sid Vicious was a prick.
For me, I mean, it's not a rational thing, and I'm not defending this, you know, the fact that I can excuse sometimes human behavior if they are, like, if they excel in some kind of form of art, but it's just because I always appreciated art, and I never had any kind of talent. You know, I cannot sing for the life of me. I tried playing instruments, but I suck at it. I cannot draw an apple. You know, I have no artistic talent of any sort. So that's why I really admire this quality in people to the point where it almost makes me forget the bad stuff about them. I don't know.
No, I understand. I feel the same kind of tendency, and I actually do, through this idea, I forgive a lot of the, you know, everybody's flawed. It comes out and you sort of, there's a forgiveness in that. But I'm just saying that there's a kind of elitism. I mean, with artists, I love artists, so I can almost see saying that. They create such a great thing that it's such a weird... But it's the same thing with the politician. It's like, well, he can run a whole nation. So what if he rapes a few people? You know what I mean? It's like, it begets elitism when you say, I want to say that their skills are so great, I'll pretend some lie about them. And it's like, no, you might have to say, they're so great that we have to let them do that. But you don't actually have to say they're okay people to yourself. But I know that's the natural tendency. Part of my point is I still fight it today. I have a tendency to, when I was younger, to deify people, and I found out they were fucked up. It was really, really hard on me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, there's just a huge difference between what you're doing as a performance or as a mission, like, you know, Kennedy's politics versus Kennedy's personal life. Who cares? But yeah, there's a difference between an artist too who's doing art that is like Picasso, you know, where they sort of sold out, you know, made the money. You know, you're going to have more scrutiny for that than a person whose art was part of their life. And the trick with Ocean Avani was that her art was from herself. I mean, she artistically metaphored her own process of having an abortion. I mean, you know, real life shit was in which her art was. It wasn't just stuff she made up. This was stuff out of her own demons. And so that makes it more, to me, valuable, because it's about something real. It's not just about being an artist. It's not just about being an entertainer. It's about being, you know, rawly human. You know, or
I mean, I think that I think that you just actually saw like modern day mentality and brutality. That okay, well, all of a sudden somebody can draw something, or they can, you know, do this or do that, or you know, whatever the case may be. That they're, you know, they can do whatever. Okay, well, hey, this person's a good artist, or they have a good mind, and you know, they have the right to go make somebody else suffer or have pain, or you know, any of that other shit. Completely fucking ridiculous, dude. I can't even believe that you guys actually even sat there and clapped for it or whatever. Oh well, hey, this person's, you know, has a really good thought in their head, so they have the right to go fucking make somebody else feel fucking sick to their stomach or hurt them. I mean, that mentality is absolutely disgusting.
Holy shit, I agree with you, Bandit. That's never, ever, ever, ever happened before.
But nobody fucking argued for that. Nobody argued that if you're a criminal and you're a good artist, you know, we can overlook that. I was talking about regular people who may have their flaws, but I wasn't talking about, you know, actually going out there and hurting other people and me getting over it. You know, I was talking about
you know I have good intentions, so I'm going to challenge you, because you use this example. She went out with a gun, a loaded gun she didn't know was loaded. It's haphazard. She wasn't the only one endangered by that kind of bullshit, and especially since it's an example of a lifestyle. So she is endangering other people.
Yeah, she went around inside the house.
No, she was out on the street.
Well, you said it was
Okay,
dangerous
no,
for
she went
herself.
out on the
It's obviously
street with a
dangerous.
loaded gun. He gave her the gun because she was going out to get groceries or whatever the fuck she was going to get. Alright, so she was walking the streets of San Francisco with a loaded gun just thrown in her purse. Not even placed in her purse, not even a place in her purse. A loaded gun just thrown in the purse with all the other crap in her purse. I mean, that is a little bit wacky.
Exactly, because there's a lot of stuff in a purse that can go through the trigger. That is it. Yeah.
I didn't even know that she actually walked to the street with a loaded gun.
That was the whole reason why he gave it to her. He made this whole speech about how the streets of San Francisco are the hell. That you want real Hell's Kitchen, you go on the streets of San Francisco. That was his whole rationale. Is that he's living in hell now. He's on the streets of San Francisco, and you got to have a loaded gun.
I think that was another.
Because you might run into Matt Bales.
The one I watched, he just gave her the gun because he was saying, like, you know, take this from me before I do something, or something of that sort.
Yeah,
and
no,
they
it's
were
all the
people
same night as
him.
it's the same night as he cut his arm open. It's the same night as he put the gun to his head when she got back and said, donate $100 or I'm going to blow my brains out. I mean, it all happened on the same night. I watched it all live and in person.
Oh, I didn't watch that. I saw parts of it on YouTube.
Hey Gary, I think in the middle of a fake Sagan conversation it's fine to interrupt with something else, just naturally. So, did you see John Paul Thorne's antinatalism thing? I'm sure you probably have a lovely, colorful video that all your Mayhem fans would. Anyway, I would like to. Did you see that? Did you even watch that?
Yeah, I've seen it. You know, it just, you know, I'm not going to acknowledge him. He even changed the name on one of his videos. First, he titled it with Amendum in the title and some kind of crap. You know, I'm going to show you up. We care about the world. Look, people are saving. They're saving their bubblegum wrappers for the environment. See how the people are changing. We're going to fix the planet.
Yeah, a couple of videos. No, that was a good point. The people do show they care about these chickens, which is a kind of lower neurological animal if you're going to make ratings.
Yeah,
right?
so I'm showing these people
Oh yeah, and
care.
it doesn't show that they care about anything. It just shows more of this vogue, holistic, crapola religion that's out there. Like, oh yeah, let's eat whole grain breads and blah blah blah. And it has more to do with this voguey, you know, that style points. That has nothing to do with anything real.
Chris, what do you think of the
actually care about
antinatalism thing? I don't remember. Sorry, John. Chris, what do you think of antinatalism? I was wondering because I don't really know. Can I guess before you go? I seem to have the impression you're sort of sympathetic, but you seem someone that endorses life. And I think maybe you've said that. I've asked you before. But what's your take on that whole?
Rationally, I agree with Gary like 100% in the sense that I do understand the futility of life if you analyze it, you know, the bigger picture, what's the purpose of it all? It's just, you know, need and desire. But the thing is that I don't see any, how shall I put this? I don't see this going anywhere because I don't see a place where the human race would decide to euthanize itself, to commit like, you know, species suicide. So I think the best approach is to try and convince people to improve the society we live in, rather than explaining to them how life is shit and we should stop it. I mean, I just don't see this as a useful tool for me to use.
Well, there's billions and billions of people, and only a tiny percentage of those people are completely fanatically dependent on having children. So I think if we have billions and billions of conversations, eventually we'll convince them.
I'll put the cream to sleep with my Carl Sagan invitation. Anyway, yeah, no, but yeah, whatever. You know, yeah. I mean, the point is whether or not it's the truth is the first point. But the second point is yeah, I think if you can convince the people to create a better world, then you can take that one tiny step to the left and say, oh yeah, let's just forget about the whole thing anyway. So I think if you can get people
Like, you know, I would,
to do the green thing, if they're ever going to do the sustainable life thing, I think you can convince them of the not doing the baby thing. It really isn't a sacrifice to give up not to having kids.
well, here's what I think. I think if you have any hope of that, you need people like Barklord and myself that will take the other side of the argument, okay? And I think that the blockage of the argument, if to the degree that there is any, you know, even if in the sense that even if we go on because we're kind of just tend to do that, we get stuck and it's the same thing, is this issue of we're not the totally callous assholes like some of the capitalist people that just think, hey, if you play by the capitalist rules, it's fine. We're not those guys. We also care. So, like this antinatalist guy, we had a whole, he said something about my apathy, and I just decided it was time for, well, fuck you, blah, blah. He was like, well, fuck you too. And then we actually talked, and he sort of acknowledged, it's like, well, yeah, I agree, you're an idiot, but, well, he didn't say that, but it's like, that's all implicit, but at least you'll talk about it, and yeah, you think you care. I'm fine with being called an idiot where someone says, yeah, you're compassionate, but you're such an idiot that your idea is not compassionate, you're causing suffering. I understand why they're trying to argue that to me out of the faith that I give a shit about that. Right? Otherwise, don't even try to tell me. You say I don't give a shit, then why are you trying to tell me how terrible it is? I wouldn't give a damn. So, you know, but I actually had a good moment, yeah, with the guy whose username is even, you know, devoted to antinatalism, antinatalism or antinatalism dude or whatever. And, you know, and that's good. That's really what I think we need at this point.
I mean, you asked me, like, from a philosophical point of view, I do agree with him. I mean, I think the first time I ever heard about antinatalism, like, philosophies was when I was studying Schopenhauer in my high school. And I mean, compared to Schopenhauer, Gary is a daisy, a fresh daisy. I mean, he's so ruthless against life. And I just found myself agreeing with him, like fully agreeing with him in regards to antinatalism as a concept. I just don't think that this concept will work on a very large scale. So from what I'm studying, you know, we are either gonna make some progress or we're just gonna die off anyway, but it's not gonna be, you know, like an atomic bomb and the earth explodes. It's gonna be a really slow process. We're gonna run out of resources and we're gonna die like shit. So we are either gonna improve our condition or it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, well, again, I'm just going to argue that if we're going to be able to improve our condition, that means all this religion shit's going to go to hell, and we're going to have to grow up and face reality. And I'm just saying it's going to be so obviously logical to face reality in the sense of, all right, yeah, you don't waste resources keeping people who don't want to be alive, and yeah, you don't irresponsibly create human beings in circumstances that can't be sustained. I mean, this is going to be part of being green and logical, is going to be recognizing, okay, if I don't have any money, it's really dumb to have kids. Or if I live in the Congo and there's this horrible blight, there's no fucking point in perpetuating human beings in these circumstances because it's so expensive to try to get them to even live 40 years of age. So I'm just saying all of that reason is going to, if it is the only way you're going to save the world anyway, and I'm just saying once a person's to that point, they're not going to have a problem taking that one more step and just recognizing that, yes, the only thing that compels them to have a kid, the only thing that compels them to have a kid is a bunch of fucking pop culture jargon. There is no biological need, there is no personal need, there's just a status symbol bullshit nonsense contrivance need.
Also, about this need thing, you know, that there is no need, that all our satisfactions, I mean all our joys, so to speak, come from satisfying our desires. So if the desire didn't exist in the first place, you know, we wouldn't have that vacuum that we need to fill, right? So need is just bad, but I don't see it that way. I think if you train yourself to desire good things, this can benefit everyone. For instance, if I have the desire to get a fucking Ferrari, that's not going to help anyone. That's just going to bring me misery. But if I see somebody suffering on the street, for instance, and I have the desire to help them, even if I'm satisfying that desire and I feel good myself, I still did something good for somebody else and, you know, try to reduce some of the suffering. So I see that, you know.
Well, I'm just saying, though, we're just back to the point that it's all psychology, and I'm just saying if we're going to argue that humans are going to be able to change their psychology, I'm saying you might as well just change it all the way. Again, we're back to the argument. What are you doing for a kid? What's the better thing to do? Put the kid through 2 years of chemotherapy and bone marrow transplants, or just get the kid in a frame of mind where he's comfortable with dying? I say it's just so much easier to work on the psychological problem than it is to try to fix the physical problem. All right, you don't. It's like the virtual reality argument. You can live in virtual reality for 40 cents. All right, you live in reality. You need a house. You need real food. You need real oxygen. You need real materials. You need real, and it's all resource demanding. It's all high risk. It's all no risk in virtual reality. So it's essentially the same argument again. This is the fail-safe, and when people are, if they're going to ever be rational, that's going to be the choice they have. And I'm telling you that the only way you're going to save the human race is they're going to have to get rational to do the green thing. You might as well take the one more rational step and just say, yeah, it doesn't need to be perpetuated.
Okay. I want to ask a question, but maybe, Chris, you'll leave the tangent thing. But, okay, John Paul made a couple videos that were, like, pretty free of the trolling side. They're just his view, I thought. It's pretty hard to deny that. John Paul Prime, I don't think John will mind me saying that he is an example of a lot of fucking miserable experiences. And in a way, you can see he still suffers with it in the way he presents his stuff. And again, I don't think John will mind me characterizing this way, though it's going to be a simplification. We can use John as an example